welcome to episode 90 of Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. My name is Bill Pivots. So as you know, I didn't record an episode for last week's episode of NXT. I kind of ran down the spoilers, but I just want to go in depth a little more. Rich Swann had a match against Kona Reeves, also known as Noah Paches. During the match, Sanity came down and destroyed both men. Eric Young and then Noe Jose brawled, and they set up a match for this week. There were a lot of video packages leading up to the fallout of TakeOver Toronto, and the babyface trio of, I believe it was Liv Morgan, Aaliyah, and Ember Moon defeated Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, and Daria. I forget her last name. So that was easy to predict. Like I said, a very skippable episode. And this week, unfortunately, was a little bit of the same. There were some good moments, but really nothing advanced, nothing to sink your teeth into. This week's episode took place in Ottawa, where I believe last week's SmackDown was taped, so I believe it was taped right before the show. The show kicked off with Asuka against Nicole Matthews. Nicole got some offense in a little bit, some forearms and some strikes, but Asuka no-sold them and landed the hip attack and some kicks. As she was going for like her last kick, Nicole kind of just fainted. And Asuka attempted a couple different arm bars, but landed a high kick and won with the Asuka lock. Another squash match, just keeping Asuka fresh. They need some competition for her, and quick. It's going to get a little boring. I don't know if the crowd's turning on her because of what she did to Mickie James and Bayley, or they're just kind of over it. But I could see some rumblings in the crowd. We then got highlights of Sanity's interference in Rich Swann's match last week. And we also got word that Shinsuke Nakamura will get his rematch against Samoa Joe in Osaka, Japan on Saturday. And predictions here, I think Nakamura wins his title in his home country, and then Samoa Joe makes his debut in the Royal Rumble. After that, Joe cut a promo on the match, saying Regal wants nothing more than to get the title back on Nakamura. He said no one can compete with him, no one's on his level. In come Ty Dillinger. He interrupted, saying he wants an opportunity to prove himself. He then slapped Joe across the face and walked away. Bad move, Ty Dillinger. Bad move. Second match, Noe Jose versus Eric Young. Jose dominated the early part of the match, sending Young to the outside. A little later, Alexander Wolf got involved, allowing Young to take control. He landed a neck breaker over the top rope and then some stomps in the corner. Jose made another comeback with some axe smashes and a huge clothesline. Jose caught him with the right hand and went for the pin, but Sanity distracted the ref. Eric Young took advantage of that as well, and he landed a wheelbarrow neckbreaker to get the win. Decent match, but the pairing between these two seemed off. Eric Young, in this gimmick at least, is a more ground and pound kind of guy. Noe Jose is a little more flashy. It didn't really mesh well. I kind of see some hit and misses with this match. The gimmick is all right as far as like a post-apocalyptic gang, but they just seem a little cheesy and over top at times. Just Nikki Cross just being like her wild self. It just seems a little out there. The crowd doesn't seem to be buying it too much. Maybe because they're only a mid-card act, I'm not too sure. And as far as the loss, it doesn't really help Noe Jose much. They were kind of building him up. He was on a hot streak, winning some big matches. But I think the couple weeks leading into TakeOver and the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic and this match kind of slowed his progress down a little bit. We got word that DIY will appear for their first time after winning the NXT Tag Team titles. Asuka was then asked about her change in attitude. She said there is no change. She's the best and just wants competition. So do we, Asuka. So do we. That then led to our main event of Samoa Joe versus Ty Dillinger. After some chops back and forth, Dillinger sent Joe to the outside with a dropkick. Ty continued his offense with a nice springboard splash. Joe came back with his sit-out double knee buster. He then landed some kicks and a knee bar. Joe caught Ty off the ropes with a nice snap slam and snap suplex before mocking Ty Dillinger's 10 taunt. We then got a commercial after his corner enziguri. Graves said that Ty Dillinger, the beating that he's getting was a result of the slap in the face, and he's deserving of it. Can't say I really disagree. And from a storyline perspective, it does make sense. He really hasn't done anything to deserve a match with the NXT champion, besides just slapping him in the face. If that was the case, you'd be seeing people slap Samoa Joe in the face left and right. Ty landed a flurry of strikes and began to build some momentum. The Canadian crowd was clearly behind him. Joe countered the tiebreaker and hit a German suplex. Ty countered another suplex and rolled him up and connected with a nice super kick for a near fall. Joe countered a second tiebreaker and hit a Uranage from the corner. He then hit a powerbomb, which then led to the Boston Crab, which then led to a crossface before rolling him over and winning with the Coquina Clutch. Good TV main event. Ty Dillinger had some hope spots, but not as much offense as I thought he was going to get. But Joe obviously won the title recently. They're not going to have him sell for a Ty Dillinger who just lost to Bobby Roode at TakeOver. They just needed to keep Samoa Joe as a monster, and they did that with the submission attempts. They did stretch this match out a lot. I think it could have been shortened about another 2 or 3 minutes, but with only 3 matches on the card, they had to make it as long as possible to fill the hour. I think the show actually would have benefited from a second mid-card match because that Jose Eric Young match was average at best. Ty Dillinger did get a nice ovation from his home country crowd as the show closed with him in the ring. I think NXT needs to get back to Full Sail because last week's show in Toronto and this week's were iffy. I think they were both skippable. Really nothing was progressed. The only thing that came out of the 2 shows was that Nakamura is going to get his rematch on Saturday. That was the biggest thing, and that wasn't even something that happened in the ring. But next week, we get DIY in the ring, and we get the fallout from the Joe Nakamura match in Japan. Yeah, it was a short episode. Really not much going on this week. Really can't comment on much, but hopefully next week's a little better. Hopefully get some more in-ring action, more to talk about. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll be back next week with episode 91. Follow me on Twitter at bpiv_sports. Rate, review, comment, subscribe. We'll do all that fun stuff on YouTube. I'll check you back next week. Peace.